Dzień dobry, nazywam się Basia Salamon, jestem doradczynią edukacyjną. Dzisiaj moim gościem jest Andrew de Silva, headmaster z The Oratory Prep School z Wielkiej Brytanii i porozmawiamy dzisiaj o szkołach dla trochę młodszych uczniów. Hello Andrew, so nice to have you in Warsaw. Thank you for coming all the way from England.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm looking forward to, this, but also tomorrow.
Yes, definitely. If you could tell me a bit about the Oratory Prep School in general.
Sure. So the Oratory Prep School is located in Oxfordshire, so about 50 minutes away from Heathrow, about an hour away from London. And we are a school which educates children from 2 years to 13. And we are a day school and a boarding school, which is a bit like, think Harry Potter. Think Hogwarts, but our magic is education rather than a wand. So from our perspective, we are set in 65 acres of forest, field, with some of the best facilities in the prep market in the UK. So that's who we are in essence, and I can talk more about it, but that's who we are.
Yeah, let me ask you a question, because in Poland, the families of younger and younger children decide to send their children to boarding schools overseas, but the parents don't really know what actually is a prep school.
Sure. So, and forgive me because I don't know the educational system in Poland, but in terms of the difference in prep to primary, the prep education goes from 2 to 13. So for us, that's really important because the last 2 years, years 7 and 8 as we call them, are possibly the most important years for children to develop an inner confidence and an authentic voice, so that then when they develop as teenagers, which can sometimes be tricky, they are much more confident in their own skin and therefore able to make decisions that are in their best interest rather than not. And I suppose formally, the best bit about it is that children are educationally, academically incredibly able because of what we do at the OPS, the Oratory Prep School.
Okay, thank you, Andrew. You mentioned that prep school is school for younger children up to 13 years old. So then they feel also more comfortable without having their older teenagers around. Yeah. But why do parents actually choose prep school? What's usually their goal?
So what parents tend to want for their child is fundamentally the best education that they can give. And it's not easy being a parent trying to identify, do I spend my money on this or do I spend it on something else? But my parents, who are fantastic, spend their money at our school because our children get 3 things. They get a guaranteed academic excellent education. And I'll come on to what that does in a bit. They get an emotional education, which means that as children, they are emotionally intelligent and able to look after themselves, be kind to themselves and others. And then they get the social education. And the social education is incredibly important because that social education enables them to, when they're adults, be better at talking, be better at networking, be more confident and be able to be in a space and have a voice in that space. But fundamentally, we are a preparatory school, which means we prepare children for some of the best schools in the world. So in Oxfordshire, we're very blessed, we're very lucky. We have Bradfield, St Edward's, Oxford, Downhouse, the Oratory School, Shiplake, but then we go slightly further afield, Winchester, Eton, Harrow, Marlborough, Wellington, and these names are some of the very best names in education in the world, and they are literally on our doorstep, and that's what we do.
Yes, so you mentioned some big names, and is it actually possible for international student who arrives at the prep school at age 11 to actually enter, let's say, Eton College? Because as far as I know, you write tests for Eton long in advance.
Yeah. So it is more difficult because the process starts significantly earlier. But one of the things I would say is that because we are who we are, as the Oratory Prep School with the name that we've got, because we have got the links with some of the very best senior schools in the country, we have ways of As long as the child is academically at the right stage and we agree that it is the right school for that child, then we will push as much as possible for that child to be knocking on the door, to be seen by these schools. Now, can anything be guaranteed? No. But the one thing that stands the OPS out from many other prep schools, of which there are some excellent schools in the UK, is that we never give up. If you send your child to us, it is my duty to love your child and make sure that your child thrives. And that also means sending them to the right next school.
Yes, yes. And talking of international students, there are some Polish families whose children are already at international schools in Poland, because we have many and it's growing. So those who speak very good English, they will be comfortable in international environment. But there are some children, especially from smaller towns, villages, whose parents want to invest in international education, but they don't speak very good English. What would you do with such child? How would you help such student?
That's a really good question, Basia, because essentially we have to make sure that the child's going to be happy in our setting. And if their English isn't at a level where they're able to engage in the learning, then there's a slight issue. That being said, Basia, we have children coming to us with significantly lower English than some of the others who may be coming to us from other countries. But because of our excellent teaching and learning and our bespoke English as additional language, EAL lessons, the child can make significant progress. However, I also have to bear in mind that I've got the pupils in my care who are day pupils, who I loved as much because they're mine as well. So we have to get that balance right. But if the child is cognitively, so in terms of their capacity for learning, if they're cognitively able, and we can see that they're a quick developer, then language acquisition is quite easy. But it depends on multiple factors.
Yes, yes. Actually, I see from my experience that the younger age student goes abroad and attends the school abroad, the easier it is to learn the language and just to learn the new lifestyle. Yeah, so you said you need to assess the student to check the student's cognitive abilities. So how do you do that? Do you do some tests?
Sure. So what we tend to do is we do something called a cognitive ability test, which looks at their essentially parts of their verbal, non-verbal, quantitative, spatial, a part of their all-round academic profile. And what it enables us to have is, it gives us information as to what is their potential. Like all these things, assessment data is only as important, well, it's only relevant for that point in time, but it's the so what does it tell us next? So that helps significantly. What we also do is an interview. And that interview helps me gauge, and my registrar Hannah and my EAL teacher Carly, it helps us gauge, will the child be able to engage in learning? What are his or her learning behaviours like? Will they contribute to the life of the school? Because whilst we are going to be providing them with all those three things I said, what are they going to give to us? What magic are they going to add to our school? And all children do, because children are wonderful. So the testing is the cognitive ability test, the interview, and there might be two interviews because there might be one English one and then one with me. And the last bit is we ask for reports from their current school. And that's to identify what are their learning behaviours like. Do they engage in class? Are they confident? It doesn't matter if they're not confident, because that's what we do. Yes. We get that confidence out.
Yes, fantastic, fantastic. So with the testing you saying you do, it sounds like the student needs to speak English, at least some before, because even to do CAT tests, if they don't speak English, they won't be able to do some sections, because they won't know the vocabulary. Yes. So your school is rather for those who can speak English. So if a student from a small Polish town who didn't attend English school before or international school before, it's better first to do some one-to-one English lessons or attend some summer schools where they can learn English, and then they can apply to the oratory.
What I would say though, Basia, is that if there's a child who really wants this and we interview them and we think, we're going to interview in 1 month's time. If we see significant progress, then it might be a different scenario. It all comes down to, what does that child and what does the parent want? If they want their child to come to one of the best prep schools in the country, if they want their child to experience social and emotional education with high academic rigor, then how much do they want to fight for it? How much do they want to work for it? And if they do, the rewards are significant because we're awesome. Well, I'm not, the school is. My staff are awesome, my children are awesome, everyone's awesome.
You're awesome too.
Well, I just do my thing, but the children are the main bit. The children are the main bit.
Great. And you are a prep school, so you probably have mainly British pupils.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yes.
So what's the percentage of British and international?
Sure, I'd probably say if we look at our boarding is around 40 pupils and we're 30, so it's about, and our borders aren't all international because there are some British borders in there. It's probably about 10%, which isn't anywhere near as high as, 10% international, so 90% British. Which actually is lower than I think the national is in the prep sector. And it's important that we have that balance right, because as I say, the children in my care are the ones I love. And if I've got someone coming for a term, if I've got someone coming for a year or 2 years, I've had children with me since they were 2. So I've got to make sure that whatever we're doing, we are making sure they make progress as well.
Yes.
And of course, the wonderful thing about having international pupils and hopefully Polish pupils soon is we learn from them. You know, the world is global. Oxford is lovely, but it's not the world. You know, Poland is part of the world, and we need to increase our children's capacity to understand the knowledge and wonder of what is a globalization.
And do the alumni of your school, do they stay in touch? Because some would go to Eton, some would go to Wellington, they would go to all these fantastic schools. Do you actually do something that they can meet again and network when they're grown up?
Sure, really good question. And I'm going to be really honest with you. We're only just starting this. So I started at the school last September in September 22. And this year we're starting to identify what we want our alumni network to look like, what we want to give back to our alumni, and also what can they give back to our school. So I would say, watch this space. Watch this space.
I will watch it. Okay, thank you so much, Andrew, for your time and for coming here.
No problem. Thank you very much indeed for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you.